This is Bejita, or at least the first side of Vegeta that fans were able to see within the fandom. This stage of Vegeta is known as Explorer Vegeta, which was during his first arrival on planet Earth. Or to make it simpler, let's say that this stage of the character lasted while he was the main villain. By the way, one of the best in the franchise. Vegeta was truly a bad person. Cynical, heartless, lacking empathy, and very egocentric. Despite all this, he still wasn't someone deserving of the title of monster. This can only be applied to villains and characters who seem to come straight from the depths of hell. Guys that even the devil would turn to look at, completely perplexed. Yes, I'm talking about Freezer, but today is not Freezer's day. So, goodbye, Emperor. The thing is, Vegeta was, for the franchise, more or less the third antagonist introduced who was actually scary. The other two were Tao Pai, a terrible guy, and, of course, Piccolo Daimaku, a pretty messed up and fearsome character. Later on, even though Piccolo Jr., Rabbit, and Nappa made an impression because of their powers, they weren't as scary as Vegeta was. And the thing about Vegeta is that he knows how to speak very well. He's a cultured and very intelligent guy, even though he doesn't usually show it. We can see this on many occasions. When Vegeta gives explanations about, for example, the race from some remote planet, it's clear that Vegeta had a strong education about the universe during his childhood. Because of this, combined with his infinite pride and ego, it gave him a very oppressive aura, with which he always consciously made it clear with all his strength that you were beneath him. The Prince of the Saiyans? And while this side of Vegeta fascinates me, there's one that I find even more incredible, and that is, without a doubt, my favorite period of the character, where we saw him perform the most epic acts and where it was him against the world. Oh yes. Today we'll talk about the legendary Bejita on Namek, the man without fear. We're on Earth, the battle has come to an end. Vegeta is completely wrecked, just like Goku, but Bejita can still clumsily move enough to call his capsule and crawl inside so he can leave. But Kuririn wasn't going to allow this. Using Yajirobe's sword, he is about to put an end once and for all to that bastard who took the lives of so many of his friends and almost ended his own as well. But he is stopped by Goku, who begs him not to kill him, to let him go. So are there any theories about this moment? One idea I like and stick to, so I don't think Goku is a complete idiot, is that Goku, he noticed, as with Piccolo, that Vegeta could change and become better. This is because in a dialogue from Vegeta in the manga, he says something like, he's amazed that Goku didn't kill him back then. It's like he always knew he'd eventually feel good in his heart. I think Goku noticed something during his fight with Vegeta, because if not, he seems clueless. Goku doesn't like to kill, but he's not Superman either. As a child, he finished off a lot of people. And even though the training with Kama-sama, in theory, made him not want to resort to that. As I said, Goku isn't Superman. When he has no other choice, he finishes off his enemy. That's why, in this case, I prefer to think this way, rather than thinking that Goku let the killer of his friends live just to have a strong rival. Vegeta leaves the planet swearing that he will come back for revenge. Swearing that he will crush Kakarot and everyone else like simple, disgusting insects. As he escapes, we can see just how devastated Vegeta is, even having one eye unusable. He eventually reaches his destination and receives care from the doctors or scientists there. Whatever they are, he's in a recovery capsule. Here, certain answers to questions we might have had begin to be revealed, while at the same time, new ones are presented to us. It turns out that the proud and powerful Vegeta was never someone who could move 100% freely. Raditz, Nappa, and Vegeta were part of an army led by someone more significant than Vegeta. By far, a being that we would later discover was not only Vegeta's boss, but also the most important guy in the universe, not counting deities. That's no small thing. And oh yeah, there was also the tiny detail that this being was the one who destroyed the planet. Vegeta nothing, just little things. Once Vegeta recovers, he's out walking around, considering his next move. A purple guy who calls himself Kui enters the scene. According to Kui, his powers have always rivaled Vegeta's, which makes it clear that Vegeta has always been pretty far from being one of the most powerful. Even in that organization, there seems to be strong rivalry between Kui and Vegeta. Nothing really interesting, just a bit of teasing here and there, until the topic of Freezer comes up. Yes, the very same one. And here, my friends, is where everything, absolutely everything, goes straight to hell. This is the breaking point where Vegeta forgets absolutely everything that happened on Earth, and we no longer have the character we had before. This is where Vegeta's character arc on Namek begins. It turns out that the worst thing that could possibly happen actually happened. Frieza found out about the existence of the Dragon Balls, so he heads to planet Namek to use them and become immortal, as if that weren't enough, or be the universe's most powerful guy. Again, excluding deities and Majin Buu since he was sealed. Now on top of that, the bastard wanted to become immortal. Considering that you don't have to be a genius to know that Bejita wanted at some point to take revenge on Freezer for what happened to his planet, which absolutely everyone was aware of. Bejita, Freezer, most soldiers, the audience, even Nappa. Obviously it wasn't appropriate or interesting for Vegeta that Freezer became good, completely invincible. Vegeta just says to hell with everything. He tells Kui to shut up and sets off on an urgent journey to planet Namek to somehow, in a way he definitely didn't know either, stop Freezer's wish. From the start, we see how epic this is. Vegeta goes in without a plan, since none is possible. As it is, Vegeta can't defeat most of Freezer's high-ranking henchmen, let alone Freezer himself. This is very complicated, but there's no other option. Vegeta is embarking on a suicide mission because at this point, he doesn't have any kind of support either. Am I right or not? With Nappa disintegrated, Vegeta arrives on Namek at the same time as the Earth Warriors and Goddess Bulma. When Vegeta arrives, he admits he couldn't defeat Freezer even at full strength. But the prince has a plan. As I said, Vegeta is incredibly smart, a prodigy in every way except his height. So during the journey, he found a possible solution. He had to be the one to find the Dragon Balls first and then ask the dragon for eternal life. It was still horribly complicated, but at least his chances of winning went from 0% to 1%. Thank you. Anyway, not many important events happened from here on out, besides Vegeta committing some minor massacres among the Namek natives. Before this, Kui, the punk from earlier, shows up hyped to finish Vegeta, claiming he's as strong or stronger. The thing is, this fish-faced guy didn't count on the wonderful power of Zenkai, so he's brutally destroyed by Vegeta, almost effortlessly. Dodoria was once valuable, but after that television special made him less expensive, he stopped being important. The credit for having taken down Bardock's squad, although Goku avenged his planet father and race by defeating Freezer, he didn't kill him. That was Trunks' role. Vegeta was the one who would give Bardock the satisfaction of humiliating and destroying Dodoria. Although Freezer ordered him, Dodoria is still a damn bastard. In this short fight, Vegeta clearly stays evil, deceptive, and threatening, ultimately defeating Dodoria. Yeah, I guess the hundreds of Namekians destroyed already explained and clarified this, but just in case. Next, Zarbon would go due to power scaling. Vegeta managed to overcome Zarbon, but it turns out that wasn't his final transformation. And, well, transformed Zarbon destroys Vegeta and leaves him drowning in a river. Something interesting happens, showing that despite everything, Freezer knew how tough and dangerous the Saiyans were. Zarbon tells Freezer about the drop in life, and Freezer asks if Zarbon has seen Vegeta's body. Zarbon replies no, but assures him he's dead, making Freezer furious and ordering Zarbon to search for him. Later, Vegeta gets a new Zenkai and defeats Zarbon, finally overcoming Lord Freezer's strongest henchman. Or maybe not. Another key scene is when Vegeta realizes that Gohan tricked him. That watch didn't tell the time, it was a tracker for the Dragon Balls. Realizing it, he becomes enraged and searches for the Earthlings. Here we notice two very interesting things. The first is that Vegeta is very much alone in this chess game that was the Namek Saga. He has no allies, which is normal. The other two sides, so to speak, are against him, which makes him look like a kind of space Rambo. And that's really cool. The real, all of you against me, the one and only original. And secondly, he can no longer hide his emotions, stay calm, or be stoic. At this point, Bejita was really desperate. But this would only get worse for the prince. Do you remember what I said a moment ago about Freezer's most powerful henchmen already being wiped out? Well, it turns out there's a group known as the Ginyu Special Forces. A group made up of guys who are very, very strong. And Goldo. Vegeta is scared that this squad is here. He's so desperate that he has no choice but to agree to team up with the Earthlings. During this fight, Vegeta went all out like he never has in his life. He desperately tries to finish off his enemies at all costs. His battle with Riken stands out as one of the most brutal, as Raikon appeared unbeatable to the heroes. And Vegeta? When all seems lost, Kakarot appears. He puts Raikon to sleep and humiliates the others. This is when the world collapses for Vegeta and he recalls everything. Not only did that pathetic, low-class Saiyan he hates so much just save his life, But now he's also much stronger than him. He defeated opponents Vegeta couldn't even touch. He couldn't believe it. His ego, his pride, his title as prince, all had been trampled by that damn Kakarot. Despite everything, Vegeta knows this isn't the time for regrets or rivalry. He executes the incapacitated Special Forces members. Although later, Goku is seriously injured due to Ginyu's tricks and must be placed in a recovery capsule. Additionally, Vegeta stays to guard it. You can't even imagine how painful and hard it must have been for a proud warrior like Vegeta to have to depend on Goku's recovery in order to face Freezer. Vegeta also ends up killing Juice in a very epic way. Their fight is short but intense, with Vegeta finally putting an end to the damned Ginyu force. And well, yes, after all this, things get, even worse. Did you guess? Freezer starts moving, prompting Vegeta, Krillin, Gohan, and Dende to act after several events. At first, it seems like Vegeta isn't doing so badly against Freezer, but what we all suspected is revealed. That wasn't Freezer's final form. So the monster transforms, and in that form, he is completely invincible to our heroes. That's when a warrior no one would expect arrives on the battlefield. Piccolo himself, one of my favorite characters in the franchise. He starts fighting Freezer, and to Vegeta's surprise, this green insect is even stronger than him. What the hell is happening here? Why are all those pathetic guys so strong now? For Vegeta, all of this was torture. He reveals he still has 2 transformations left and in short defeats everyone. Vegeta, now completely deranged and out of options. He trusts that with a strong Zenkai, he'll definitely be able to become the legendary Super Saiyan and thus defeat Freezer. After all, his father told him that if anyone could become a Super Saiyan, it had to be Vegeta. Vegeta reluctantly receives the Zenkai from Dende, smacks the kid, then confronts Freezer. Vegeta claims to now be the legendary Super Saiyan, to which Freezer can't help but laugh. Freezer didn't truly believe the legend. He just disliked how these guys kept growing stronger. He saw them as dangerous for that reason, not because of the legend. Vegeta joins the fight and faces the worst humiliation of his life. It's not that he's defeated by Freezer, but rather that he's tortured by the Emperor Freezer. He was fully aware of what Vegeta was like. He knew everything about him. He knew he was a proud, untamable guy, and above all, that one day he would try to betray him. Everything was part of his plans, and he was also aware that treating Vegeta like a worthless rag would destroy his mind. He definitely achieved his goal. Freezer made Vegeta cry in helplessness, regretting he couldn't do anything to stop him. Facing Freezer, everything had been pointless, nothing worked, as Freezer was invincible from the start. The destruction that Freezer caused in Vegeta was much deeper and more painful than what any blows could inflict. Vegeta's pride, the thing that most defined him and was his trademark, was crushed, destroyed, and burned to ashes until nothing was left. Vegeta was just a shell here. He couldn't avenge his world and wasn't the Super Saiyan his father, King Vegeta, had predicted. He was absolutely nothing. In the end, he lived for nothing. But it turns out there was still something left. Or rather, someone. Goku appears on the battlefield like a righteous archangel. He sees Vegeta on the ground, and with the little strength he has left, he tells Kakarot everything and begs him to finish off Freezer, to put an end to that monster, to at least be the one who gets justice for what happened to his planet. Here, through tears, Vegeta set aside his personal pride in order to prioritize the pride of his race, the pride of the Saiyans as a whole. Vegeta understood this. It didn't matter if it was him or another Saiyan who finished off Freezer. What mattered was that a Saiyan specifically was the one to defeat Freezer. It didn't matter if it was the prince or a commoner, as long as it was a Saiyan. Beyond personal ego, the pride of everyone, above the pride of just one. Previously, Bejita yelled at Freezer that Kakarot was the legendary Super Saiyan and would be the one to kill him. That now everything was fine, now he could leave. Bejita is finally finished off by Freezer, and Goku gives him a small burial. Understanding that despite their differences in this case, there was something in common that united them. Something that went beyond anything else. Their blood ties, their Saiyan bonds, and Bejita wasn't wrong, because Kakarot would end up being the one who would put an end to Freezer, at least for a while. The final blow was delivered by Torankusu. This, in reality, would have been a brutal conclusion. For Bejita, I'm not complaining about everything the character did afterwards. Bejita is definitely an amazing character, even if he's not one of my favorites. But personally for Bejita, the Saiyajin and Namek arcs together, it tells you a brutal story about a bad guy who wanted revenge, who couldn't get it, who was humiliated and destroyed. But in the end, at least, he was able to leave his revenge in the hands of someone who, ironically, he hated with all his being. In the end, life is a huge mess, a mess of ironies. And the more you grow up, the more you realize this. Vegeta on Namek, the man without fear and the pride of a race. The video ran a bit long. I hope I didn't bore you. I understand that I've summarized things that all of us here already know, but it's necessary to fully understand what Vegeta went through in this arc. It was, without a doubt, the arc where Vegeta had it the toughest. A new problem appeared every 5 minutes. It was relentless. Seeing Vegeta so desperate and crazy, man, it was priceless. If you're wondering why I call him Bejita instead of Vegeta, it's because Vegeta reminds me of Vegeta 777, which feels weird. That's why I say Bejita. See you in the next videos. Bye.